Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on Sunday, the 2nd of May. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend, people. Hi, I'm Paul, and I'll be your host this morning here on New Zealand Sports Radio. In the news today, and we got cricket action in both the IPL with a stunning finish, as well as two test matches. I'll bring you up to speed with how the NRL has been going, as well as the Super Rugby Aotearoa and Super Rugby AU. And also the Women's Super Rugby inaugural match as well. We'll keep up to speed with the A-League, where we've had a couple of games overnight, as well as the basketball in the NBA, the NBL, and the Sal's NBL as well. Netball gets back into action, so we'll let you know which games are going to take place today. And then we've also got golf action with the PGA, the European Tour, and the LPGA, as well as some boxing news as well. So a stacked episode for you this morning here on New Zealand Sports Radio. This is your best way to start the day up to speed with all of the important sports news. And let's kick off with that with the golf action then. And over in Singapore, it's the HSBC Women's Championship. At the top is Lin from China at 14 under par. But Lydia Ko, after the third round, has got herself in contention. She's in fifth place, just 4 shots back there in that one. So one more round to go in the HSBC Women's Championships. Don't forget to join us tomorrow morning at 7, or every morning at 7 a.m. For the morning sports briefing. Obviously, we'll bring you up to speed with how Lydia goes in the HSBC Women's Championship. On the European Tour, and no Kiwis involved in the Tenerife Open, but the Samoja from Finland currently leads, along with Von Delling-Schusen from Germany, both at 17 under par in that one, with one round to go. Over in the States, in the PGA, and we had 2 Kiwis in action at the Valspar Championship. Unfortunately, Tim Wilkinson didn't make the cut. He was just one shot outside the cut, and so isn't playing this weekend. Danny Lee, though, is having a great tournament for him. Currently tied at 6th place at 8 under par, 7 shots behind the leader Burns, who is on 50 under par with one more round to go. So Danny Lee having a cracking tournament for him in that one. Staying over in the States, and let's catch up with the NBA action. 8 games yesterday. Stephen Adams' team, the Pelicans, weren't in action, but some of the key results there. See, the Kings beat the Lakers 110-106. The Suns beat the Jazz 121-100. Good win for them there. And the Bucks beat the Bulls 108-98. As well as 76ers beating the Hawks 126-104. What does that mean on the tables? Well, in the Eastern Conference, that win by the Bucks not enough to clinch a playoff place just yet. Season they're in 3rd place, behind the Nets and the 76ers, who have got their playoff berths already confirmed. The Jazz and the Suns on the Western side have got their playoff berths confirmed, and the Clippers, with 2 losses in their last 2 games in the 3rd place, need a couple of wins more to get themselves into the same position. Moving then over to Australia for the NBL over there, and the Breakers were in action yesterday against the Wildcats, top of the table there. It's always going to be a tough game for them, but the Breakers came out and took the lead in the first quarter, bringing that on 28-23, only to be 1 shot down at half-time as the Wildcats came back. The Wildcats then took a 3-point lead into the final quarter, but it wasn't enough for them as the Breakers won the last quarter 22-17 to win the game 86-84, just a 2-point win there. So great result for the Breakers. Leading the way, Levi Randolph with 19 points for the Breakers in that game. On the Wildcat side of things, John Mooney with 25 points, but it wasn't enough to see his team home. We also had the 36ers beating the Bullets, actually thumping them 101-79 in that one. The Breakers still sit second from bottom in 8th place, but with 8 wins now and 15 losses for the season. But they have played the least games in the league, so hopefully a few wins will see them climb up the table there. We also had action over here in New Zealand in the Sal's NBL. The Otago Nuggets took on the Taranaki Mountaineers and got a comfortable win, 93-66 in that one to register their first win of the season. The Franklin Bulls also picked up their first win in a much tighter affair, beating the Manawatu Jets 100-99. The Manawatu Jets played 2 games there in 2 days up in Auckland, and unfortunately for them, losing to both the Auckland Huskies and the Franklin Bulls. Where does that mean on the ladder then? That means that we still haven't seen the Hawke's Bay Hawks play a game yet, but we have 3 unbeaten teams at the top of the table: Wellington Saints, Southland Sharks, and the Auckland Huskies at the top there. Let's go back over to Australia for the A-League and in the football. 2 games yesterday. The Brisbane Roar and Wellington Phoenix both really requiring a win to maintain their challenge for the playoffs. Neither of them could manage that with a 0-0 draw. And the Wellington Phoenix hopes really fading of making it into the playoffs. They are only 2 points behind Western United in 6th place, but they've played more games than they played the most games, 20 games. Brisbane Roar got 3 games in hand, Western United 2 games in hand. So it's tough to see how the Wellington Phoenix will make the playoffs at this point. Western Sydney Wanderers also beat Sydney FC 3-2 in that one to keep their hopes of playoff places alive. They're on 28 points, equal with Western United, but 1 place behind them due to goal difference. So the Western Sydney Wanderers just on the edge there of that playoff places. Moving on then to the boxing. And in the boxing, there's been a bit of a row about who should walk out first in the Derrick Chisora versus Joseph Parker fight. And it looked like the fight was not going to take place as Chisora was saying he would not walk out first. But his manager got hold of his mum and Viola told her son that he was to walk out first, just like he signed up in the contract, and he backed down. So the fight is still getting to go ahead in that one there. Moving on then to the netball. The netball is back in action today. We'll see the Steel take on the Pulse down in Invercargill at 4:15 p.m. and the Magic take on the Unbeaten Stars at Trustpower Arena in Tauranga at 6:15 p.m. this evening. So 2 games in the ANZ Premiership. Don't forget to check back tomorrow, where I'll bring up those those results and how that impacts the table. This is an independent production brought to you by New Zealand Sports Radio. If you'd like to support the channel, then you can see the ticker across the bottom if you're watching the video. Just head to patreon.com/NZ Sport Radio. We're not part of NZME or anything like that, and fully rely on your support to keep us going. Moving on then to the rugby, and 3 games yesterday. First up, we had that Super Rugby, or the Women's Super Rugby game between the Blues and the Chiefs at Eden Park. And it was tight in the first half. We had a flurry of scoring in the first half hour, and it was 12-18 at half time. In the second half, though, the Chiefs pulled away to win that one 12-39 in that one. So a great start to Women's Super Rugby as with that exhibition game. And let's hope that the full tournament gets put together next year. You can check out my post-match reaction to that on New Zealand Sports Radio's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter pages. Also, join us at 8 p.m. this evening. I'll give you a full review of all of the Super Rugby action from this weekend. That was followed up by the Blues versus the Chiefs men's game in the last of the Super Rugby Aotearoa regular season games. The Chiefs fielding a much changed and a very youthful and inexperienced side coming into this game with thoughts of the Super Rugby final next weekend against the Crusaders. The Chiefs got the first points on the board via a penalty, but the Blues came back via their forwards to lead at half-time 14-9 as they kept the Chiefs out, even though they went close several times to getting over that line. The Chiefs pull it back to 19 all just after the hour mark, but then the stronger Blues bench really did show as they pulled out to a 39-19 win in that one. Again, post-match reaction is available on our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter pages to that, as myself and Stephen Harris talked about the game. Also, as we'll be covering that obviously at 8 p.m. this evening. Over in Australia, and it was the elimination final there between the Brumbies and the Force. The Brumbies coming into this one as heavy favourites, and they did dominate the possession, making the Force make a lot of tackles in this one. But even so, after half an hour, the Force were leading 3-0, having hardly seen the ball. But soon after that, the Brumbies clicked into action, got themselves a try. We then saw a red card to Pulu for a shoulder to the head of a player in the tackle. And after that, in the second half, the Brumbies uncharacteristically were kicking threes rather than going to the corner, but stretched out their lead to win 21-9 in the end over the Force. That will see the Brumbies go up against the Reds next weekend in the Super Rugby AU final. And over here in New Zealand, we'll see the Crusaders hosting the Chiefs in the Super Rugby Aotearoa final before all the teams get back together to play against each other in the Super Rugby Trans-Tasman competition. Over in the NRL, and 3 games yesterday, the Panthers beat the Sea Eagles 28-16. The Sea Eagles on a good run of wins coming into this weekend, but not good enough there. The Eels had a comfortable win over the Bulldogs 32-10, and the Roosters absolutely thumped the Knights 38-4 in that one. The Warriors are in action today at 4 p.m. against the Cowboys, and that's followed by the Dragons versus the West Tigers. Don't forget to join the standoff on Wednesday evening, where the Bulls go through all of the action from this weekend, the hot news, as well as look forward to round 9 as well. Finishing off then with the crickets, and in the IPL, it was an absolute cracker of a game between Chennai Super Kings and the Mumbai Indians. Chennai Super Kings went into bat first, putting up a total of 218 for 4. Faftaplees and Moeen Ali built the foundations of the innings after they lost to Galwad, with both of them scoring half centuries. But it really was Rayundu at the end of the innings with 72 off just 27 balls that really powered them to that total. Kieran Pollard, the only bowler to have any real control, taking 2 wickets for 12 runs of his 2 overs in that one, in that innings. In reply then to that big total, Mumbai Indians got off to a good start with Decock and Sharma both giving a 71-run opening stand at the top of the innings, with scoring 38 and 35 respectively. But it all came down to the last over. Kieran Pollard was in there and facing as his side. He needed 16 off the last over. 2 4s and a 6 meant they needed 2 off the last ball to win the game. After jamming his ball down, and it went straight to long on, but they managed to get the 2 runs in there, and a cracking win for the Mumbai Indians by just 1 run, or 4 wickets, depending on how we look at it, but was 1 run with no balls remaining. Wonderful game there. Moving on then to the Test cricket, and Sri Lanka in the box seat against Bangladesh after posting 493 for 7 declared. They bowled out Bangladesh for 251 there. Sri Lanka powered in that first innings by their openers, scoring 118 and 140 by Karuthane and Thramane in that one. In the on the bowling side, in Bangladesh innings, a number of players made good starts but didn't go on to score that big score. Iqbal with 92 at the top was the top scorer, but having 5 players out in single figures, including 3 ducks, really hurt Bangladesh. As Jaya Wikamra took 6 wickets for 92 runs there. So Sri Lanka currently lead by 259 runs in that one. It's totally in the box seat. Pakistan have beaten Zimbabwe in their first Test match. Zimbabwe were all bowled out for 176 in their first innings. In reply, Pakistan scored 426, with Fuad Alam scoring 140 to leave them there. Imran Butt also with 91 at the top of the order, with Mazara Bani taking 4 wickets for 73 for Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe would then bowl out for 134 in their second innings. Hassan Ali, after taking 4 wickets in the first innings, took 5 wickets in the second innings to get player of the match, as Pakistan won by innings and 116 runs in that one. Don't forget to join us at 8 p.m. this evening for the Super Rugby review show, and I'll be back at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning with the morning sports briefing. You have now started the day the best way, up to speed with all the important sports news. Have a cracking weekend, folks.